Thank you very much again for the e-learning team for inviting me to this very, very important space to discuss AI. So my presentation will look at AI from the perspective of social work education. And I see there's also a common theme that everybody has titled their presentations Threat or Opportunity. At one point, I actually wanted to change the title. But maybe I come from an age before the internet and computers was part of undergraduate education. So many a times I still wish we were back in those uncomplicated days when we could simply just spend hours and hours in a library looking for different resources for our assignments, and where we also had to handwrite our assignments. So just some thoughts of the good old days. My presentation will essentially focus on the social work response to the use of artificial intelligence and just documenting my own experience and some of the thoughts that emerge within our profession and our department. Now, the use of technology in social work, and the natural assumption would be that social work is a very human-centered, person-centered profession where human engagement and presence is the central focus of our profession. And obviously, our training of social workers is also geared towards that. But we all know that now our clients that we work with occupy both online world and offline world. So quite a number of authors have commented that as social workers, we are not immune to the impact of digital technology. We need to embrace it. And also the use of technology is not new to the profession. I mean, in the days, in the 50s and the 80s, we used different forms of technology that was available to us at the time. And like I said, there are more and more authors advocating for social workers to become a bit more high tech and tech savvy. And also with the advancements in technology, as social work practitioners, we are also seeing new kinds of social problems emerging that the next generation of social workers need to be trained and need to respond to. I mean, traditionally, one would assume that social workers would be involved with matters related to poverty, drug addiction, child protection issues, removal of children, and in most people's perception, it's related to SASSA or food parcels. However, with the advancements of technology, social workers are also confronted now with new social problems. For example, sexting, cyberbullying, which a lot of the participants in today's workshop will be quite familiar with. And then other kinds of addictions, your online web surfing, internet, gaming addiction. Then we also talk about something called digital inequality. It is something that social workers also now need to respond. And then something that always disturbs me quite often when I see it in different social media platforms is how young people are using technologies like your TikToks, your phones, to record acts of violence, to record, like reported in this particular article, where two young persons were filmed engaged in inappropriate sexual behavior. It was recorded by others, and then it became available, and some even charged other young people to gain access to. So all of these problems are now emerging as a direct use of digital technology. So technology and social work, there is definitely a common space. So in terms of my experiences with AI and social work education, I was part of this 2 million or 1 million users in November when ChatGPT was made available for the general public. I came across it reading a lot of articles, and then I also downloaded the app, tested it out, and as you can see in this particular slide, um, the first question I asked ChatGPT was a definition for social work, which is generally the question we would ask in tests, in assignments for our first year students when they enter our program. And when I look at this particular, it blew me completely away because within a few seconds, it could give me a general description of what social, even though if you compare it with the official universal definition, there are a number of differences. And then I did a lot of reading around ChatGPT to become familiar with it. I attended as many webinars as I potentially could. And then, very important, it was important for me to then also raise this amongst our academic team. So I informed colleagues about this new emerging technology. I asked for an audience in one of our academic staff meetings to discuss it. I also brought it into my class environment just to alert people about this particular technology. But what were the potential threats? Inevitably, when I looked at the technology and also sharing it with my colleagues, the fear was around the misuse of the technology. Will it enhance the copy and paste methodology? Because when you look at ChatGPT, it allows you that functionality. You can merely, once you've given it the prompt, it produces the answer in seconds. Then after that, it just becomes a cut and paste job, which you can then transform or send it or cut and paste it into a Word document. Um, Other potential threats, which a lot of the speakers alluded today, was does ChatGPT and other technologies take away the critical thinking of students? And in a conversation we had as an academic team as well, is do we now need to look at or revise the plagiarism policy in our department? Do we need to amend our plagiarism statement that students need to make and also include a statement around the use of AI-generated technology? And then just recently, I came across a AI tool called Tone. And in preparing for next week's classes, I usually spend quite a considerable time putting together my lecture presentations. And I was completely thrown away with how this particular AI tool could put together my entire lecture for next week in just a few seconds. In 6 slides, it covered all the key important things that my first class for next week will be covering. Like I said, there were definitely a number of differences in the content that's in the textbook. Then what are the potential opportunities? As a team and myself, we definitely had to rethink our, our forms of assessment. A lot of the assessments we do in social work is very text-based. Students have to submit quite a number of reports because as social workers, one of your skills is your effectiveness in compiling reports for different settings, for court reports. So report writing is a critical skill. And obviously with AI tools like ChatGPT, it could potentially serve as a risk to the writing skills of the student. So as a team, and we really had to rethink what would be other forms of assessment that we need to consider. One of my colleagues had been using digital storytelling with one of our final year class, and from the feedback and the experiences of the students, it's really been a positive experience. And then also using what we call audio assignments or podcasts. A very interesting experience happened early in the academic year when I actually asked my students, I'm going to give you guys an assignment. We're gonna do a poll where you decide whether you want this assignment in written form or do you want to do it in audio form. When the poll results came out, 69% of the class still preferred the written or the text-based form of the assignment than rather doing the podcast or audio assignment. And then in terms of report writing, an opportunity that presented itself also this year was that it allowed us then to also invite one of our key role players and a future employer of most social workers, the Department of Social Development. We invited them to come in and do profession-specific reports. In that way, it also created another opportunity to, as a defense against GPT and other AI tools, where students were taught how to write a foster care report, a report as a pre-sentence report. And as you can see in one of the slides, which is based on what we call a Form 38 report, it really still requires a lot of our students to use evidence-based practice, which a AI tool might not necessarily be able to be that accurate in. And we have, and the department social workers are also very excited to continue presenting these workshops to our students throughout the course of the year. So that opportunity was created because of maybe our fear of how AI tools will now, in a way, pose a challenge to us as academics with by collaborating more with practitioners and potential sites where our students will eventually practice social work. Then maybe just in closing, with some important comments by different authors that have worked in this area of technology and social work. It's important that as social workers, we need to become familiar with these technologies. We need to develop these competencies because the reality, as a number of presenters did allude to, that these tools are here to stay. They are evolving. They are changing even more every day. And as social workers, we need to definitely become familiar with it and be competent in it. But also very important, that AI, we need to empower ourselves, we need to understand its possibilities and its limitations, but very important, we also need to play an active role in its development and use. So at the end of the day, AI technology is part and parcel of the experience of our students and the academic staff. We just need to find suitable and appropriate ways in how to integrate it and manage it within our programs. Thank you, colleagues.